many of you guys know there are things that are eternal that we'll have on earth? Let me just tell you, when we get to heaven, we look at some of the ancients, I was just listening to this documentary about China and the army of terracotta statues. None of those guys that army didn't go on the other side. When you see Pharaoh, King Tut, his boats and all that didn't go to the other side. So when we go to the other side, heaven and earth will pass away, Matthew says, but my words will not pass away. People you lead to Christ is an eternal thing. Things that you sow into the kingdom, you'll have with you on the other side. And that's why Paul says, some build their house with wood, hay, and stubble, others with precious jewels, gold, and silver. And only to say everybody here builds their house with siding and tieback. That's the building materials of the natural. But gold and silver, wow. Silver, you got to go through the fire. And I was just reading this the other day. How do you know, as a silversmith, when you overdo the silver? Because what happens is a fire gets going, and they'll take the dross out. But when that silversmith can see his face in the silver, it's done. Anybody feel like you've been in the fire? Anybody feel like everything that's in you has been drawn out of you? Like, Lord, what else? Because the face of the master will be in your life. And so here, Jesus is the eternal truth. And who was made in the likeness of mortal man, fully God, fully man. He was crucified, risen, ascended, and glorified Lord, who at the appointed time was manifest in the flesh so that we would all trust in him for our salvation, that we wouldn't perish but have everlasting life. But he's the Word of God. And he came to earth, and put another way, right? If God wrote you a personal letter, would you read it? If God writes you a letter and says, hey, Benjamin, I have a letter for you, would you read it? Like, if God wrote you a letter, like, how cool is that? But God has written us a letter. And it's in his word that he writes this letter that if we want to think, like, Lord, what do you think of me? Lord, what do you have to say to me? I get in trouble with this because people will live sometimes off of prophetic words instead of this word. And he writes a personal letter to us. The creator of heaven and earth, the one who holds the stars in his hands and yet knows the number of hairs on your head, wrote down thoughts just for you. Would you set it aside or would you treasure every word? See, the truth is he already has. The Bible is God's living word. It's living and active. And it's his message to his people, his voice to his children, his heart revealed to us,